I've got the most brilliant guy that I've had.
That's what it is.
He's
intimidating.
He's
you.
intimidating me. I mean,
because normally
I can just see him. I can just see him as this little bitty baby just being born, and somebody saying, "That's a brain laying there. It's not a human being. That's a brain." This guy has so many degrees, it's unbelievable.
I know. But you know what? He's a really nice guy, and he's very down to earth.
Yeah, I know he's a doctor.
And we like talking to him. Larry Richards is his
Wow.
name. And he's been called the most prominent and prolific Christian education writer during the last half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
You know, really, I've got C.S. Lewis sitting here.
That's right. He's authored over 250 books,
Yeah.
including Richard's Complete Bible Handbook by Word and NIV International Encyclopedia of Bible Words and the Revell Bible Dictionary. I mean, so that kind of tells you
In fact, I had
what this guy knows.
I had this copy in my study, this right here, Dave.
They're playing the music.
I know it. Dave's trying to get me to move on. The significant drift toward occult supernaturalism. So do we know we're drifting there, and could we be involved and not know it?
Well, I suspect that most people have no idea how prevalent supernatural occultism is today. In fact, I looked up the number of television shows that are based on occult practices, and I found at least 32 television shows currently on our screens.
So it's becoming
that are
very,
rooted there.
Yeah, that's right.
very popular.
Very
and
popular.
Apparently the demand is there.
Yes, and you constantly see movies put out.
Well, I've got a brand
theme.
new one right now that's running. Demons and Angels, I believe is the name of it. Or
Yeah, that's a history, it's one of Dan Brown's books.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just saw yesterday, there's another new television show coming called The Other Side, which depicts some kids who are trying to search out a paranormal experience and run into frightening demons. And this is going to really be eaten up by people because there's a fascination with the supernatural, but it's the wrong supernatural.
Well, don't you think it's because the true supernatural has been taken away from them?
The true supernatural has been taken away, and in our churches, we don't teach about angels or demons. We don't teach about the present world. I think it's just uncomfortable. I've got some interesting stuff here for you.
Okay.
You know, we were talking about how prevalent it is.
Yes.
Before I came here, I put in your zip code, 33771. And I decided to look for what's happening in the paganism, supernaturalistic, occult world in our area.
Right here.
Right here. Within 25 miles of this station, I went first of all to a site called Witch's Voice. And they listed 5 different pagan witch groups that are meeting within 25 miles of here. They also listed 37 individual witches that can be contacted through their site. Then I went to a site called Meetup. Now Meetup...
What was it?
Meetup. Meetup.com. It's M-E-E-T-U-P. And what it does is it lists all sorts of groups that are getting together and have people, you know, just to have people join groups. And they may be political groups, they may be book reading groups, but in looking up at meetup.com, here's what I found within 25 miles of the station. 4 Wiccan groups are meeting and advertising on meetup.com. 5 that label themselves as pagan groups. There were 5 that listed themselves simply as supernatural and interested in metaphysical. There were 177 members in one of those groups.
My goodness.
There were 21 groups that are focused on channeling. Now, channeling is this idea that we can contact spirits in the other world and they can speak to us and channel different people or voices or angels or demons back into our world. There are 21 of them within just 25 miles of this station.
Wow.
And finally, I looked up spirituality to see groups which would list themselves under spirituality. There were 65 of them.
Oh my word.
And there were 3 of those 65 that were Christian. So we have no idea how much paganism, occultism is infiltrating our society. And we have no idea how this is affecting our kids and our grandchildren and the danger that this really brings to our culture and our society.
So
Well,
when
when you create a vacuum, it's going to be filled with something.
That's right.
true.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when a pastor walks in that pulpit, this is not going to be the subject, probably
No.
ever.
Probably never.
And yet, would he have people in that audience that are dabbling in this?
He would. There's no question about it. He'd have people that are going to palmists. He'd have people that are going to alternate medical practitioners who use occult means to do diagnosis. I know a pastor's wife who goes to a person like that. It's unbelievable what's going on in our culture,
Now,
and people don't know it.
This is my next question. Where do these spirits reside?
Okay. We don't know much about what the spirit world looks like. We just know that it's sort of a dimension parallel to ours. And we also know that the spirits in that world are either angels or demons. Now, if you're a neo-pagan, you believe that the spirits may be the spirits of a dead person. They may be a spirit of a being which hasn't been born yet. It may be an angel. It may be a demon spirit. It may be an animal spirit. But they consciously try to contact these spirits, and they call them spirit guides.
Yeah.
And the idea is that if you get a spirit guide, that spirit guide will help you make decisions in your life. My wife was on vacation with a friend from high school, and their friend from high school wanted to keep going into these crystal shops and into these places that sort of dealt in occult paraphernalia. And before long, she was urging my wife to just invite a spirit guide into her life. She'd invited a spirit guide into her life, and the spirit guide was directing her in very helpful ways, she said. Well, we know what those spirit guides are. Mm-hmm. They're demons in disguise. And we know
So that's where they reside.
Yeah.
In invited individuals.
And invited individuals, that's right. One of the things that's very important is that we have to either consciously or unconsciously give access to an evil spirit.
How would you do that?
Well, one of the most common ways is through an occult practice. We know kids that think a Ouija board is a game. Mm-hmm. And so we have kids will get together and they'll invite the spirits to come and to guide them as they're moving this Ouija board marker around.
And they actually think that's happening?
Oh, yeah.
Does it happen?
It can. It can happen, there's no question. A lot of these times, or you may go to a palmist and ask the palmist to give you a spiritual reading. Any of these kinds, this is why in the Old Testament, any occult practice is absolutely forbidden.
Yeah, even King Saul finally resorted to that.
And it's not just because it's an insult to God, it's because God knows that occult practices are behind them are demons, and it makes a person vulnerable.